This is NBC Nightly News, reported by Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. President Reagan goes on national television tonight to share with the country insider information on the shooting down of that Korean Airlines jumbo jet. His speech follows several developments on the tragedy which emerged today. Canada suspended landing privileges for the Soviet airline Aeroflot, and it restricted the use of Gander, Newfoundland as a refueling stop for the Soviets. In Moscow, there were many more Soviet versions of the shooting down of the Korean airliner, including one tonight on Soviet television. Genrik Borovic told his Russian audience that the Soviet fighter pilot had no choice, that the anti-aircraft defenses fulfilled their duty for the security of the motherland. And TASS, the official Soviet news agency, today called U.S. accusations deliberately provocative, adding that they were designed to obstruct the arms limitation talks. Chris Wallace has spent this day talking to many of President Reagan's advisors, and he reports from the White House tonight that the president is expected to counter the Soviet versions with hard evidence.
In his speech tonight, the president will play a tape of intercepted transmissions from Soviet fighter pilots in the moments before that Korean airliner went down. Reagan aide said the tape proves beyond a shadow of a doubt what happened. Administration officials say the tape proves the Soviets shot down the plane. One pilot saying he has fired a missile and target destroyed. They say the tape also proves the Soviets are lying when they say the plane had no lights on. One pilot noting it had the strobe and wing lights customary for a civilian airliner. Aides say Mr. Reagan will emphasize international actions to avoid turning this into a U.S.-Soviet fight. This afternoon, the State Department called in foreign diplomats and, according to foreign sources, asked for cooperation in these areas: a cutoff of Soviet airline flights for 60 to 90 days, reparations for the families of victims, and support for private anti-Soviet boycotts by labor unions and airline pilots. Today in Florida, Vice President Bush denounced Soviet explanations so far and demanded an apology.
The big Soviet lie. No regrets, just the lie. And it wouldn't make it right. It would not make it right if the Soviet leadership would say a horrible mistake was made and we're sorry. It wouldn't make it right, but it would help some.
The president will suspend U.S.-Soviet talks on some secondary issues tonight, but there won't be any major announcement. Reagan aides saying that their main goal is to solidify what they are calling a massive propaganda defeat for the Soviet Union. Chris Wallace, NBC News at the White House.
A Soviet general suggested today that the Korean Airlines jumbo jet was mistaken for an American spy plane that the Reagan administration has acknowledged was in the area at the same time. General Semyon Romanov claimed that the planes are similar in appearance. He called the airline passengers victims of the Cold War. The administration did disclose that the American spy plane was in that area where the Korean airliner was flying, and as Robert Hager explains in this background report tonight, the shape of the spy plane and the shape of the jumbo jet airliner are much different.
The plane the Soviets claim they may have mistaken for the Korean airliner is an RC-135. It's almost the same as this KC-135 the Air Force uses as a tanker plane. And both are the military version of the Boeing 707. But instead of passengers, the reconnaissance plane is crammed with cameras and electronic equipment. The reconnaissance plane's smaller size and different shape, the absence of the hump that distinguishes a 747, would seem to make it easy to tell from the Korean plane, even in the black hours of early morning, and there was supposed to have been a moon that night. U.S. sources are vague about the exact route of the RC-135 that night, but it seems to have left Alaska, done whatever listening or observing it was supposed to. U.S. sources do say that it passed at one point within 75 miles of the Korean plane. Up the line, it crossed over the path taken earlier by the Korean plane, but was far away as the Korean plane wandered over Soviet territory, and by the time the Korean plane was shot down, the reconnaissance plane was back in Alaska, making it hard to imagine, U.S. sources say, that the Soviets could have mixed up the two radar blips. Still, the incident raises questions about the sensitivity of the flying lanes which skirt Soviet airspace. Civilian radar reaches barely beyond the coasts of Alaska and Japan. Some suggest huge radio beacons should be added at the Japanese end. Others talk about adding still more backup systems to the cockpit navigation equipment. Finally, commercial planes could one day use navigation satellites, as the military does now. But satellites would be very expensive, and existing navigation systems had seemed adequate until this incident. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
In Korea today, tens of thousands grieved for their dead, while thousands more cried for justice against the Soviet Union. Stephen Frazier has been covering that side of the story. He reports tonight from Seoul.
Americans William and Charlotte Oldham were aboard that plane, hoping to learn what happened to their brother John.
I have enormous questions, and I think everybody who's read the papers, everybody's even looked at the map, has incredible questions. What was on the plane? Why did it go so far off navigation?
We expect eventually the questions will be answered.
We hope the questions will be answered, but it doesn't seem like anybody's producing any answers yet.
Coming up, Robert Bazell in California on Challenger's dramatic night landing. Brian Ross in the Bahamas with an exclusive report on drug smuggling's mystery man. And Fred Briggs in Newport on the final pairings for the America's Cup.
Delicious. Look what happens when Swift wraps the finest white meat chicken around the most delectable fillings in the world. You get the Swift International Entree, an incredibly delicious Swift International Entree dinner. Swift wraps fine white meat chicken around the world's most delicious fillings. So all you need is an oven, 30 minutes, and a taste for finer things. The Swift International Entree. Something this good shouldn't be so easy.
When I was a boy, I thought flowers were magic. You know what? I still do. I'm Merlin Olsen, and I've seen the magic of flowers. Tickle a friend, spread a little good cheer, make a special day perfect. The magic of flowers, a magic your FTD florist understands. When you send flowers from an FTD florist, you know they'll be fresh, they'll be right, and they can be delivered anywhere, often within hours. How does FTD do it? It's a little magic all their own.
Mommy beat Daddy.
I quit.
Sore loser. Hey, Vaughn, how do you do it? Tennis, family, everything. Isn't easy. And after Morgan was born, my doctor told me I had iron poor blood. You? Biggest nutritional problem we women have. Now I protect myself, eat right, and take Geritol every day.
Geritol is iron-rich. Great protection against iron-poor blood. Iron is Geritol's middle name.
Should I take Geritol?
Yvonne does.
It's great protection against iron poor blood.
Spectators said it was better than Star Wars, a spaceship plunging out of the night onto a strip of light in the middle of the desert. The first night landing of America's space shuttle. Robert Bazell was there on the California desert for the middle-of-the-night touchdown.
290 knots.
The first pictures of the shuttle as it approached the runway were taken by an infrared camera sensitive to heat. The Challenger's nose appeared to glow because it was still hot from the friction it encountered as it re-entered the Earth's atmosphere. Following the light from powerful beacons, Commander Richard Truly landed the shuttle with no help from the automatic pilot. It was a soft touchdown, and it proved to NASA officials that night landings could become a routine part of shuttle operations in the future.
Welcome back. Great show.
The 5 astronauts soon emerged from the orbiter, looking slightly wobbly as they readjusted to Earth's gravity. Shortly afterwards, they flew to Houston to an enthusiastic welcome at the Johnson Space Center. Lucille Bluford, the aunt of Guy Bluford, the first black American to go into space, was on hand with a plaque from the mayor of his home city,
who declared Tuesday, August the 30th, the day of the liftoff from Cape Canaveral, as Guyan S. Bluford Jr. Day in Kansas City, Missouri.
In a few days, the Challenger will be flown back to Florida to be prepared for its next mission scheduled for January. The next shuttle flight will involve the European Space Lab, a large package of experiments. That is scheduled to be launched aboard the Columbia, the other orbiter, on October 28th. Robert Bazell, NBC News, Edwards Air Force Base, California.
America's Marines stationed at Beirut's International Airport came under fire again today, and 3 were slightly wounded. The United States has been worried that the Israeli withdrawal from positions around Beirut would mean anarchy, and that's just what has happened. Muslim and Christian militia continued to battle for position in the mountains around the capital for the 3rd straight day, while the Lebanese army took a key intersection from Druze fighters near the airport. The breakdown of what was at best a shaky ceasefire means renewed terror for families on both sides of the fighting. Paul Miller was in a Muslim village that came under attack. He reports on the ordeal of a family.
Shells started falling on the Druze village of Aitat as soon as the Israelis left the area. The Christians were only a kilometer away. Their gunners were trying to take out a Druze gun position on the hill behind the village. Their shelling drove 3 families living in one building to a ground floor apartment. Over the next 24 hours, the building was hit by 3 shells. Many others landed near it. One family left after a radio report that Christian Phalangist troops were moving in. They were afraid they would be massacred. At night, the shelling died down a bit. It picked up again at sunrise. People decided they had to leave the building. Their village was still in Druze hands. The Druze gun behind them was still shelling Christian villages, putting them through the same terror these people experienced. Paul Miller, NBC News, Beirut.
Next, Brian Ross' exclusive report from the Bahamas on an old con man and his new business.
Why do you insist on Preparation H?
The fact that Preparation H is recommended by doctors makes me feel secure with the product. If in fact they would recommend it, I never will use another product but Preparation H.
Doctor-recommended Preparation H often gives temporary relief from pain and itch flare-ups, even helps shrink swelling of inflamed hemorrhoidal tissues.
The pain, the itching, and the swelling all went away. The fact that it is recommended by doctors does make a difference.
Preparation H relieves pain and itch, even helps shrink swelling.
Millions of people switch to Shell, and good things are happening.
My Shell dealer treats me less like a number and more like a person.
My car rides like a dream with Shell unleaded gas.
My Shell dealer is concerned about me, and he likes my dog.
I have confidence that my Shell dealer will take care of my car for myself and my family.
I will continue to deal with Shell for as long as they're in business.
There never was a better time to switch to Shell.
They bend over backwards to please you.
My favorite time of day is night. I love curling up with a rich cup of coffee. You think coffee and sleep don't mix? They do if it's High Point. It's decaffeinated, and the flavor's marvelous. You see, High Point has a special way of capturing flavor, deep brewed flavor. It's a coffee lover's dream.
Deep brewed flavor makes High Point the coffee lover's decaffeinated.
Robert Vesco is America's most notorious fugitive. For years now, law enforcement officials have been trying to nail him on a variety of charges, most of them related to the disappearance of millions of dollars from a company that Vesco controlled. Tonight in this special segment, Brian Ross describes how Vesco continues to live his life on the lam in luxury, now in the Bahamas, where the Vesco connection is powerful and illegal.
For more than 4 years now, this beautiful, seldom visited island in the Bahamas, just 200 miles from the Florida coast, has been the base for one of the biggest drug smuggling operations in the world. The island is called Norman's Key, and here, in the middle of nowhere, a smuggler's dream. Refrigerated hangars to store tons and tons of cocaine, and $1 million paved runway, long enough to handle jet planes. This is the man who dreamed the smuggler's dream, the man at the top of the Norman's Key smuggling operation, Robert Vesco, the accused Wall Street master swindler who fled the United States 10 years ago and is now said to have made millions of dollars in the drug business in the Bahamas since the late 70s, when these pictures were taken.
He roams the streets freely, usually with not more than 2 bodyguards.
This Florida drug agent worked undercover in the Bahamas.
Mr. Vesco was involved very heavily in the cocaine traffic. He was a major financier. He provided some of the muscle or protection for different groups of smugglers, and that the majority of his empire was being held together by money that he was making from narcotics smuggling.
Federal agents have been following the Vesco drug business for at least 2 years. This seized freighter is just one of dozens of boats and airplanes that agents say Vesco has used to smuggle cocaine and marijuana into the United States. Authorities say Vesco's Colombian cocaine supplier is this man, Carlos Lider, like Vesco, a fugitive from American justice. But federal authorities say that even with all they know about Vesco's drug business, the ships, his Colombian connection, his island drug base, even knowing all that, they haven't been able to stop him.
Law-abiding Christian...
American authorities say Vesco is just too well protected in the Bahamas by some of the leaders of the ruling party, the PLP, the Progressive Liberal Party. A Justice Department intelligence report says a Vesco associate has been, quote, allegedly paying approximately $100,000 per month to Bahamian officials, including Prime Minister, unquote.
Mr. Prime Minister, can we talk to you?
Prime Minister Lyndon Pinley declined to be interviewed by NBC News about allegations of corruption in his government. In public, as at this rally last week, some of the very Bahamian officials suspected of being involved in drug corruption with Vesco and others speak boldly against drugs.
I say crime and drugs is frustrating our positive image in this country.
This is Kendall Nottage, a member of the Bahamian Parliament and a cabinet minister. NBC News has learned that this summer the FBI was actually making plans to try to arrest Nottage as part of a big federal effort to crack down on the drug groups operating out of the Bahamas. The plan was like Abscam, to get Nottage on a private yacht just outside Bahamian waters, to get him to take a bribe with hidden cameras rolling. But the plan was blocked at the American Embassy in Nassau.
I've stopped it.
United States Ambassador Lev Dobriansky says one of the reasons he stopped the FBI investigation was that it might upset delicate negotiations with the Bahamians over a U.S. Navy submarine testing base in the Bahamas.
This can be very embarrassing. It could, naturally would be, and it could be very destabilizing. When you look at the total picture, I mean, our relations with the Bahamas is not solely in the drug area. There are many other things which, over the long pull, will be more important than the drug.
Federal authorities say 70% of the cocaine and marijuana coming into this country is coming through the Bahamas.
South Florida is not rid of all of it yet. Not as long as we have the Bahamas out there.
Move over, guy.
Police in Florida are making dozens of drug arrests every day. But the supply of cocaine hasn't gone down, it's gone up. And it's gone up because of the wide-open operation of drug bases like this one on Norman's Key, run by American fugitive Robert Vesco, said to be protected by Bahamian officials, and tolerated by American diplomats, more concerned with Navy bases in the Bahamas than drug bases in the Bahamas. Brian Ross, NBC News, in the Bahamas.
Next, David Burrington from Los Angeles on Tough Days for Labor.
Freedom's the one that took the stick out of gum, and puts the fresh in your bread. Yeah, Freedom's the one that took the stick out of gum, and puts the fresh in your bread. Yeah, Freedom's the one.
Freedent gum not only won't stick to your dental work, it helps clean in between to freshen your breath while you chew.
Freedom's the one that took the stick out of gum, and puts the fresh in your breath. Freedom's the one.
Freshen your breath with non-stick Freedent.
The first time ever I saw your face.
Now each time is like the first time he saw your face, because the precious emollients in oil overlay revive the radiance and soften tiny dry wrinkle lines.
The first time ever I saw your face.
Oil of Olay. It can help you look younger too.
No, it's just my keys.
Could you empty all of your keys?
Wait a minute, Stu, do you have the traveler's checks?
No.
No?
I thought you had
I got news for you. I can't find them.
It was your keys.
Yeah, fine. Thank you. What's the problem?
We've lost our traveler's checks.
You can get a refund the American Express machine down the hall.
No, but
They weren't American Express.
Oh, they weren't. What time's your flight?
You know, nobody but American Express can give refunds to traveler's check machines in most major U.S. airports. Don't leave home without them.
It appears tonight that Chrysler and the United Auto Workers are about to get together on a pay increase. The two sides resumed talks today in Detroit. One union official said that an agreement could be reached as early as tomorrow. Most Americans spent this Labor Day holiday in the backyard or at the beach rather than at the bargaining table, however. But tens of thousands of union members took part in Labor Day parades. Most were stridently anti-Reagan, organized by the AFL-CIO, which again accused the president of ignoring working people's interests. In Atlanta, there were 12,000 marchers, some shouting slogans.
Reagan has to go!
The parades reflected the fact that these are hard times for American labor, and David Burrington tells us more about all of that.
The theme at many labor rallies like this one in Los Angeles today was solidarity, and for good reason. Union membership and power are declining, partly because of the recession and uneven recovery, partly because of the decline of heavy industry in this country, and partly because of a new anti-union climate. This unprecedented show of official force at Arizona copper mines last month made sure that strike breakers got through picket lines.
The strategy is to bust the unions, work with non-strikers until the union can be kicked out.
Picket lines no longer command respect. Continental Airlines says half its striking machinists are ignoring the lines, as are pilots and others. The planes are still flying. Labor leaders say this was the turning point when they lost public support during the illegal strike of air traffic controllers 2 years ago. When President Reagan fired the controllers, he and Reaganomics became the symbol of labor's trouble. But beyond politics is the problem of foreign competition, loss of markets to the Japanese. After a long, bitter strike against Caterpillar, the UAW faced up to this last spring and accepted a wage freeze. Other unions are taking pay cuts. Probably labor's biggest frustration has been its inability to organize new sectors of the economy, like high technology. Firms in California's Silicon Valley provide swimming pools, exercise rooms, and potted plants. The companies are trying to make quality of working life as important as pay. Fewer than 5% of high-tech workers belong to a union.
I used to believe in unions. I really did. But today, we're having a lot of problems with unions. I think we're better off without them.
That critical attitude may be labor's biggest challenge, the need to regain some sense of solidarity with the public as a whole, a subject that's much discussed these days inside labor councils. David Burrington, NBC News, Los Angeles.
John McEnroe, the favorite in the U.S. Open tennis tournament, met his match today. Bill Scanlon, ranked 17th in the world, upset McEnroe in 4 sets, winning 2 tiebreakers.
Next, Fred Briggs in Newport and the 2 best 12-meter yachts in the world.
I'm looking for great-fitting jeans.
Try Lee jeans.
Fit and comfort, a perfect match.
Kathy, all you have to do is look for the patch.
Lee Jeans, the brand that fits.
Now for your arthritis. The aspirin you take once in 8 hours. Bayer timed release aspirin. 1 dose is 1,300 milligrams strong. Take it in the morning. It's timed released to give you long-lasting relief during the day. Bayer timed release works on minor arthritis pain fast, and it lasts. Take it at bedtime. It lets you sleep through the night. Now for your arthritis pain, the 8-hour aspirin. Bayer timed release aspirin.
Get the first word on news, business, weather, and sports on NBC News at Sunrise, weekdays.
Why American business trusts Emory.
Authors know I get edgy the night before a deadline, so they trust Emory to send me manuscripts, desk to desk.
I'm a small builder, but Emory gives my plans the same on-time delivery they give the big guys.
These computer chips are delicate, expensive, and expected by my client tomorrow. I trust Emory.
Over 1 million customers trust Emory to deliver. Call Emory. We've earned the trust of American business.
The late sports writer Red Smith once described the America's Cup as a sport reserved for millionaires with wet bottoms. Only he didn't say bottoms. Well, this year, the America's Cup is focused on the bottom of this yacht, Australia 2, which today qualified to meet the American entry in the finals. And as Fred Briggs reports from Newport, Rhode Island tonight, Australia 2 is a big threat to take the America's Cup away from America for the first time ever.
There was never much doubt about the country or the boat that would be the foreign challenger for the America's Cup this summer. Australia, too, would spent the last 2 months eliminating Britain, France, Italy, and Canada almost effortlessly. At the beginning of the summer, people were saying this was the one to beat, and the New York Yacht Club, well aware of that, tried to defeat the boat on the drawing board. It had to do with Australia 2's keel. A new design kept shrouded when the boat was out of water. When in the water, it seemed to give the Australians remarkable stability in tacking or turning. The New York Yacht Club, which represents America, protested that the keel might violate the complex 12-meter formula for the boats, based on length, area of sail, and how much water the boat displaces. The American defenders were clearly worried.
Well, we don't know much about their boat, and it's obviously a different type of characteristics than a standard 12-meter. It tacks differently, and it accelerates differently, and it maneuvers differently at the starts.
The Australians, whose keel had been twice inspected and twice approved by racing officials, smelled sour grapes.
I think if the powers to be realised that trying to beat each other on a technical corporate war basis is not what this event's about, I mean, the better we'll all be.
The Americans dropped the protest. What's more, they tried to duplicate the Australian keel on one of the U.S. entries.
Well, when you can't beat them, join them.
As it turns out, the new keel will not be a part of the official American Defender. Dennis Connor's Liberty won that honor last Friday, and will go with the regular keel they know, not a copy of the Australians. It will be a week before Liberty faces the men from Perth on Australia 2. Those who follow racing say that Australia has the best chance in the 134-year history of the Cup of taking it away. But a part of that history is American skill in building the boats as well as in sailing them. And everyone would agree the Americans will need that skill this year as never before. Fred Briggs, NBC News, Newport.
That's Nightly News for this Monday night. I'm Tom Brokaw in New York. Good night from all of us at NBC News.
Thursday.
Are you still looking for a housekeeper?
What happens when two cute guys
You're hired.
find a beautiful live-in maid?
Hi. Bye.
Their girlfriends want her to get lost.
Whoa.
But you never can tell what'll be going on or coming off when the curtain goes up on We Got It Made, premiering Thursday.
Coming up next on The Scene at 6, court documents say Jake Butcher secretly financed one of the international pavilions at the World's Fair. And promoters of the Electric Cowboy Rock Festival have a problem with thousands of counterfeit tickets.
Also in the news tonight, an Oak Ridge man sues the government for $1 million over alleged mercury poisoning. And comedian Steve Allen talks about his multifaceted career and has some candid comments on today's television programming.
These stories and more news coming up on The Scene at 6.
New from Tennessee Farm. Bib ribs. Delicious, fully cooked, boneless pork. Versatile goodness. Just grill them